The Downtown Rams podcast is brought to you today by Draft. Looking for the best fantasy sports site on the planet? Sign up with Draft today. For a limited time only, our listeners will receive $3 matching their first deposit of at least $10. Use promo code DTR or visit draft.com/DTR to sign up now. Draft. Fantasy for the people. Now enjoy the show.
Caught by Brandon Cooks. Shoot your arrows. Cooper Kupp plucks it out of the air and gives the Rams the lead. Robert Wood, touchdown. L.A. Goff goes crashing into the end zone. Aaron Donald almost beat the football there. Corey Littleton, have yourself a day. Picked off. Marcus Peters coming off the edge. And Ryan will be wrapped up by Clay Matthews. Everett in stride. Wow!
Franklin Myers gets his hand down there.
Weddle got a hand on it. Did he pick it? He did! Racing down the sideline is a key to lead. Gurley for MVP! Touchdown LA! Picked off by John Johnson. Well, it's Dante Fowler who is able to get to Breeze. Greg Zuerlein sends the Rams to the Super Bowl! LA will play for the Lombardi!
All right, guys, we are back, Downtown Rams podcast, and we're happy. We got a great guest on. We have Memphis Tigers running back coach Anthony Jones Jr. How's it going, Coach? Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's a great opportunity. Everything is going well.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear, and we're excited to talk to you. And just to start this off, I'm just curious, how did you get into the game of football?
At a very young age, obviously, growing up in the city of Memphis, sports was always big in my neighborhood. And it came to just playing neighborhood football early on. And when I was in junior high school, I seen the football coach and jokingly said that I wanted to play football. And he told me to come on and try out, and I tried out and made the team. And I kind of been around the game of football since the 8th grade ever since. So it's been fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. I wanted to ask you, though, with just, you've probably seen it before on NFL Network, the football life. But I just want to ask you to basically talk a little bit about, your football life and what it's been like, up to this point.
Absolutely. Like I said, I started off in the 8th grade. I was able to play all throughout high school and had the opportunity to go on and play at the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga for 4 years. First couple of years, I was a walk-on. I had to pay my own way through school. And the last 2 years, I was able to be put on scholarship. And I think the walk-on guys have a different respect for the game of college football because you really have to pay your dues. And after that, after I graduated in December of 2007, I started coaching in August of 2008. So I actually got hired on as the wide receivers coach at my alma mater, Westwood High School here in Memphis, Tennessee. Receiver coach for 1 year. I was an offensive coordinator for 2. And at the age of 23, I was blessed and fortunate enough to be a head coach at my alma mater for 2 years. So a total of 5 seasons at Westwood High School, and I was able to move on to another school here in town. And I was the head coach there for 5 years, and just finished my second full season as a running back coach at the University of Memphis. So it's been a quick journey. It's been a blessing. It's been a fun ride. It's been thrilling to say none the less.
Yeah, that's an awesome story for sure. And I'm just, curious, how big of an advantage do you feel that playing the game of football gave you when it came to coaching the game?
Oh, it's a great deal because you, as a coach, you get to see it from those guys' point of view. And a lot of times you can often go back and you can think about your time as a player and you can understand what these young men are going through on a day in and day out basis. So playing the game of football, you can definitely have a great sense of it, and it can jog you back down memory lane a little bit.
Yeah, I can definitely imagine that. Just basically, through all that, obviously, you're at kind of the beginning of your coaching career, although you've already coached quite a bit, but you still have plenty of coaching to go. But who has been your biggest mentor at this point since becoming a coach?
Absolutely. I mean, it starts with my junior high coach, a guy named Herman Adams. He's been he was an older veteran coach, and he was no nonsense, but he was a guy who I always looked up to and greatly just thought out there and whatnot. And as I progressed in this profession, various high school coaches around the city of Memphis. Being only 33, I started off 10, 12 years ago, so I was really young in this profession. And those guys kind of mentored me along. But as I moved to the collegiate ranks, you look at high school coaches who have progressed to be college coaches, guys like Gus Malzahn, Atari Graham, and Hugh Freeze, and those guys have always been kind of role models to me. And obviously, Coach Norvell, who's now the head coach at Florida State, has been a great mentor to me over the years. So those guys, just to name a few, but there's so many guys have had a huge impact on my life and my coaching career thus far.
Yeah, for sure. And, you mentioned guys who have been a mentor to you. And as I'm sure you know, you're a mentor to a lot of the guys that you coach. So, and I'm sure that there's multiple answers to this question, but what would you say is the most important thing to you when you coach players?
Just being honest and being truthful with them, just trying to build a positive relationship with them. I have 2 daughters of my own. And I've always said to myself that anytime I coach, I want my young men, I want my players to not so much look at me as their dad, but look at me as a father figure. And I just want to be a positive role model for those guys. I just want those guys to see me as a husband, see me as a father. And I want those guys to go to bed at night knowing that I have their best interest in heart. So at the end of the day, coaching the game of football is great, but I believe being a mentor is even better.
Yeah, I love that answer. Very well said. At Memphis, you've coached and developed some great running backs. Obviously Darrell Henderson is somebody that, the listeners of this podcast know the most, but Tony Pollard, somebody that I had a chance to watch at the Senior Bowl, fantastic talent as well. Kenneth Gainwell, he just had a phenomenal season. Patrick Taylor Jr., I believe he's coming in the draft. So, among others, how have you been able to develop this, what I would call running back factory now at Memphis?
Well, it starts with those young men. I mean, all those young men that you just mentioned, and even the ones that you didn't mention, come from great families, come from great households. So it first and foremost start with those guys. I mean, they have put in the work, they have dedicated themselves, they've been committed, and all those young men have went about doing things the right way. I have the absolute best running back room in the country, not because of how good of a player they are, but because of how great of young men they are. Secondly, it's the coach that was involved. Obviously, start with our head football coach, Mike Norvell, like I said, who's the head coach at Florida State, and also the coordinators and the coach that helped me out through this process. So it was definitely a team effort, but those young men are the catalyst to the success that we've had in the recent years.
Yeah, definitely. And, Jake mentions Darrell Henderson, who plays for the LA Rams. I mean, what was that like to watch him, get drafted in the 3rd round by the Rams? And what did you think of, the fit for him in LA?
Oh, it was awesome. I mean, Darrell has worked so hard, not only in his career in Memphis or going back to South Panola, but he's worked so hard throughout his whole life. I mean, he's a young man who truly deserves everything that he's gotten. I mean, he's blessed beyond measure. And the thing about Darrell is Darrell kept so many people along the way. And as a coach, you can only dream of coaching guys like Darrell Henderson. So I was fired up about him. I was excited for him, and I don't think it could have been a better fit than the LA Rams for him. And it's been great watching him play. It's been great watching him suit up. But it's also a testament to the hard work that he and his family has done over his years.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I mean, I think you did a great job coaching him. But I mean, obviously, he is a talent. He was my number 1 running back coming out of that draft, and I mean, to say we were thrilled would be an understatement when the Rams chose him. But I do want to get your thoughts on not only Darrell's rookie season, but Tony Pollard's as well. This is, I think, somebody that kind of got forgotten a little bit by, the national media until, of course, he got drafted by the Cowboys, and then people knew who he was pretty quickly. But I mean, I saw so much talent, so much explosiveness, the vision, just there was no hesitation with him in Mobile. But with that being said, what would you take away from his and Darrell's rookie seasons?
I mean, it's great. Like I said, it's great watching those guys suit up. thing about those young men that they both know that it's not truly about them. It's a team first mentality with both of those young men, and that's how they always carry themselves since I've known them. And that's what they believe in, you know. So just to see those guys suit up on Sundays has been a joy for not only me but for the city of Memphis and for our great university, and most importantly for their families. You know, and they're going to bring so much value to the National Football League because they are young men. Both of those young men are young men who go about doing it the right way. They actually give back to their community, give back to their neighborhood. They come back and they speak to the guys, and they just provide so much motivation for the guys that actually look up to them. And I think that's the thing that I'm most proud about. You know, obviously you love when they touch the ball and when they run touchdowns and get yards, but you also understand who they really are and the meaning behind the helmet and the jersey, you know. So just to see those guys have the success that they have had their rookie year, sky's the limit for them. And I think they're both going to have great careers in the National Football League, and I can't wait to watch them.
Yeah, that's awesome for sure. And you talk about watching them, you know, how do you go about your Sundays now? You know, you've got Henderson and Pollard and, you know, soon to be others playing in the NFL. Do you try your best to kind of switch in between the games, or do you just pick one, or what does that look like?
Absolutely. I try my best to kind of watch as much as I can. Obviously, on Sundays is our big game plan night. So we're just wrapping up a game from Saturday's game, more than likely. Then we're game planning for the next week opponent. But every time that those guys play, I want to make sure I have my ESPN app or my NFL app, and I want to make sure that I'm watching them and just kind of tracking and seeing what they're doing, and try not to bother them because I know they're focused. And, but it's great seeing those guys out there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, you know, clearly you are happy at Memphis. You know, I did reach out to you about, you know, if the Rams, you know, reached out to you about the running back coach. And, you know, look, the reason I did that is because I think you're doing a phenomenal job at Memphis. And I appreciate you getting back to me, first off. But second, you know, I think your time's coming, whether you want it or whether you don't, because there are a lot of coaches that stay in college their whole career. And, I mean, you can look at, like, Nick Saban, for instance. They just, you know, love being around the kids, and that's just, you know, that. But if an NFL team does come knocking, are you going to listen?
I mean, those situations, you kind of leave up to God. You put it in God's hands. You know, I'm a man of faith, and I always pray about things and see if they come. I have a great job here at the University of Memphis, and I'm blessed to do it in my hometown. But you have to be led by God, you know, and you have to pray about it, and you have to make family decisions. So I would not be truthful if I told you absolutely not. I'm going to stay in college for the rest of my career because I have no idea, you know, and I just want to be led by the Spirit. And wherever I can make an impact, a positive impact is absolutely what I want to do, you know, whether it's with University of Memphis or NFL team or high school team or whatever. I want to do God's will, and I want to make a positive impact on the lives of young men and the lives of different communities around. So it's a good question, but I have no idea. I have no idea.
Yeah, well, you know, I loved that answer. And just to close this out, I just kind of want to hear, you know, in your own words, you know, who is Coach Jones as a coach and who is he as a person?
I think it's the same. I want to be, like I said, a man of faith, and I want everybody that I come in contact with at least say that I try to help them in some way, some form or fashion. And at the end of the day of life, that's the only thing that you can do. You can just try to help somebody along the way. And I think that's what I want to do, whether it's coaching, whether it's teaching, whether it's helping out at a local grocery store or a car wash, feeding the homeless or whatever it is. I want people to understand that I want to help them, you know, and I want to make somebody's life better today than it was on yesterday. And that's been my vision for this year of 2020 so far. It's to live life better than I did yesterday on today. And I want to do that with all my players and everybody that I come in contact with. So the coach and the person is the same, because I think it has to be the same. Because if not, I think you're living two different lives. You know, so I want to be honest. I want to be truthful. And I want guys to be able to say, hey, at least Coach Jones, or not just guys, but anybody that I come in contact with and say, hey, at least he tried to help you do things the right way.
Yeah, I definitely hear you there, and I agree with that. Listen, Coach, we really appreciate you taking the time. We know you're a busy man, and big fan of what you're doing over there at Memphis. Regardless of what happens, we'll be rooting for you the rest of the way. We'll be following you. Saw you hit us up with a follow on Twitter, so appreciate that as well.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. We'll be in touch. I'll be rooting for you guys over at Memphis, and just keep doing your thing, because I think people are really starting to notice, the type of stuff you're doing over there.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate it. I look forward to listening to you guys' podcast for many, many days to come.
Yeah, thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Take care, Coach.
You too. Thank you. Bye.